Love and happiness is something that we as human beings tend to want to have, and that's a very perfectly normal thing that people ask for, as it's just simply part of human emotion. Everybody wants to be happy, but at the same time, they want to be appreciated and loved by friends, family, etc. But what happens when that view of love and happiness is twisted? What happens when your views on love and happiness results in you committing the most atrocious things, but in your head you believe that you are not doing anything wrong, or you're justified in doing so for the sake of your happiness and love? Well, that's exactly what we get to see in Happy Sugar Life, an anime that, of course, while it looks so cutesy and innocent on the outside, just by watching the first episode alone, you quickly start to realize that this anime isn't going to be wholesome, and there's obviously going to be more disturbing things to come. Basically, Happy Sugar Life is a good example of don't judge a book by its cover, because it's that unpredictable, and even after watching it and finishing it, I was still at a loss of words of what I watched, and the biggest reason for this is because of none other than the female MC herself, Satou Matsuzaka, a teenage girl that at first glance you don't see anything wrong with, and you see her as not only very gentle, but she's also very kind, not to mention that it seems that anybody who is able to spend time with her quickly starts to admire her. But this is all just a facade, because in reality, Sato is somebody that you would not want to be with whatsoever, and that is because of her views on love and happiness, and how they really aren't something a normal person would ever view these type of emotions. We see this at first glance when she rejects a boy, Tayo, in which despite him confessing his feelings for her, he quickly gets rejected by her, in which he states that she already has somebody in mind, and that person is the only person that she wants to be with. At first, you could interpret this as her already having another person in mind, another boy, but in reality, this is somebody else that's completely different, and that is a little girl that goes by the name of Shio. We've come to find out that Sato is willing to do anything to not only keep Shio around, but to fully support Shio till the very end. That is why Sato has been doing a lot of work and getting jobs, but one particular job will really show us who Sato really is and just how determined she is for people to not get in her way or to ruin her happiness. When she was working at a particular restaurant as a waitress, the same place that Tayo was working in, after she rejected him, things started to change very quickly, as not only would the manager not only making her work overtime, but was also not paying her the right amount for this overtime. Sato noticed this very quickly, and she was very quick to confirm this when she got her check, which of course, like any normal person would do, she would complain about this to the manager. But during this confrontation, we would see that the manager is not a great person, as she believes that it's not fair that Sato is getting all the praise and attention just because she is beautiful, showing clear signs of jealousy and resentment. But here is where we see that Sato is in fact smart and is willing to take down people that she considers a threat or would be a hindrance to her life, as she reveals to the manager that she knows about what's happened between her and Tayo. And after a few remarks, the manager becomes open and clean about what she has been doing with Tayo, saying how it's not fair that Tayo confessed his love to Sato when in reality he should be falling for her. And in order to get that message across, she made sure to express her love to Tayo, which I don't need to explain why this is so messed up and why an adult shouldn't be doing anything to somebody who is still underage. But once she came clean about this, she would find out very quickly that Sato was recording everything, and of course now she's going to use it as blackmail. But what's interesting about this moment is that Sato states very clearly that she doesn't care what the manager does, but because she became an obstacle for her, she had to be dealt with, which is something like Sato states, had she just mind her own business and not interfere with her, none of this would have happened. This moment will be a very early sign of where Sato's priorities are, as she couldn't care less of what was happening with Tayo, and it's not like she did this whole blackmailing thing just to save Tayo. No, the only reason why she did this all to begin with was because the manager was messing with her life, and if you are messing with Sato's life, then you are also, in her eyes, messing with Shio's life as well. But this wouldn't be the last time Sato will put someone in their place and make sure that they don't get in her way, as the next person that Sato would have to deal with is a teacher from her school. And later on, we will find out that this teacher is Sato's stalker, somebody that she has had to deal with for quite a while, but she didn't know who it was. But upon learning this information, the teacher doesn't really care because he thinks that he has the upper hand, and he believes that he is still going to get his way, as he states that he knows that this is wrong, but for him it's what makes it so great, as it's like walking in tightrope. It already reveals very quickly just how sick this person is, but the one mistake he did was doing this to a person like Sato, as even though she was able to escape from something happening the very next time, Sato is very quick to show the teacher that she is not somebody to mess with and why it's best to not come near her ever again. Not only does she find out where he lives, but she also finds out that he has a family. And the last thing that this teacher wants is, of course, for his family and the school to find out what kind of sick person he is. Now, something that you'll notice very quickly, and you start to see a pattern with how Sato reasons as to why she has to take care of these people, not only because obviously they're trying to get in her way, but also because of how they view love. Their versions of how they see love doesn't align with her version of love. Because of how they view love very differently, this just makes her even be more disgusted by these people, because their version of love is nothing compared to how she sees it, and it gives her another reason why these people in her mind should be punished as well. Now you may be thinking, why did Sato turn to be the person that she is now? Why is she so infatuated with Shio, and why her views on love and happiness became so twisted? Well, we actually do get a bit of information on Sato's past and what led up to her being the person that she is now. When Sato was very young, she actually lost both of her parents, and even though the accident is still to this day unknown, this will of course lead to Sato having to be taken care of by someone else, and this someone else was Sato's aunt. To say that Sato's aunt is a complete insane person is an understatement, as her views of love are completely unhinged. At such a young age, Sato was very quick to see that her aunt always was around strange men that would not only mistreat her aunt, but would also abuse her as well. However, her aunt didn't have any issues with this. In fact, she seemed to always enjoy it, as she would state to Sato later on that this is just another way to express love. As she tells Sato that there are different types of love. Some may seem normal to some, but others are just simply a very unique way of showing it. Now, it's very obvious that Sato's aunt was not right in the head, as a person mistreating or abusing another person just because isn't love, is something that is very terrible to do. And despite Sato's aunt telling her all this, Sato had a new way of thinking of love. She didn't think like her aunt. In fact, she believed that love was only something that was supposed to happen to a special someone that you not only were infatuated with, but someone that you were truly happy to be around, and you will do anything for that person to never leave your side. And because of this line of thinking, this will lead to Sato hanging around and sleeping with different boys and men. But despite doing all this, she never found that special someone. That is, until she found Shio. And this will lead me into talking about Shio as a character, because just like Sato, she too plays an important part of this story. Shio, despite being very young, has already dealt with so much in her life. Not only was she living in an abusive household where her father would mistreat and abuse her mother, but her mother unfortunately became very broken. So broken, in fact, that it's very obvious that she was living in misery and she didn't know what to do. But that's not to say that there was somebody that was looking out for Shio and was willing to protect Shio and her mother from all this misery, and that is Shio's brother, Asahi, who we will come to find out is the biggest reason why Shio and her mother would eventually run away from their home, as he was able to convince his mother to simply go and have another life without having to worry and be constantly mistreated. And as a sacrifice, he decided to not go with them, as he felt that he had to deal with his father first, but he assured them that he will see them once again. But despite getting away from this nightmare, that didn't mean that everything was solved. It was very obvious that Shio's mother, after constant abuse, that this would significantly traumatize her and change her life forever, as she not only forbid Shio from going outside, claiming that outside is very dangerous, but she was always sad, something that Shio saw clearly, and she always tried her best to ease her mother, which oftentimes worked as it made Shio's mother relieved and be happy that she still had her daughter. However, there will be one particular day that changed everything, and that's because Shio, like any other kid, wanted to go outside. And while her mother agreed at first, but in an attempt to make her mother happy and using outside as a way to see how she could make her mother happy, Shio was almost run over. This, of course, will once again reinforce the idea to Shio's mom that they are not allowed to go outside ever again, and that Shio should never have any ideas of going outside. This will lead to Shio finally telling her mother that she could tell that she is extremely sad and miserable, something that of course angers her mother to the point that she slaps her, which of course would be a breaking point for Shio's mother as she comes to realize that she is acting and behaving the same way her husband used to be. And it will be at this moment that Shio's mom would believe that she had to do something that was the only way. One rainy day, Shio's mom decides to take Shio once again outside, only this time to leave her alone and completely abandon her. And while Shio believed that her mother no longer cared for her anymore, in her mother's eyes, she believed that she was unfit for a mother and decided that Shio was probably better off with someone else or would be fine without her. And whether it was fate or not, this particular day would be the day that Shio would encounter Satou. And to make matters even more sad, Asahi, who was dealing with a lot from their father and dealing the constant mistreatment, once his father died, in which it would later be revealed was actually Shio's mom that came back to poison his alcohol. Once he was quick to find his mother, he found out very quickly that Shio was no longer around and that Shio is now missing, which is why whenever we saw Asahi in the series, he was always so desperately trying to find his little sister, putting up flyers, always constantly walking at night to see if maybe, just maybe, Shio would be found. And this will be not one but many of the obstacles that Satou would eventually will have to face, and she was so desperately trying to deal with. As while yes, Asahi's hunt to finding his little sister once again is something that will of course hinder Satou's life, there was actually even more things that were actually going on. Tayo, who I mentioned very early in the video, Tayo still didn't recover from what happened to him between him and the manager, which is obviously a very realistic thing, as anybody who has become a victim of that horrible stuff is not something that's so easily forgettable. But when he starts to have an infatuation with Shio, believing that Shio was his angel and that she's the only person that can cleanse him, this is where we start to see another side of Tayo that we didn't get to see, the side that we didn't possibly think somebody like him would have. But now we see that Tayo, just like many characters of this series, is also insane, as he so desperately tries to go and find Shio and try to get her to be by his side, as he now believes that Shio is his savior. And because of all these things, this is where Satou realizes that she has to take drastic measures no matter what. Although it's not really surprising, because there are many things that we see that show that Satou is perfectly fine doing anything, no matter how messed up it is, in order to get her way and in order for nobody to interrupt her view of a happy life. Like when two thugs try to take away Shio, at first she acts all innocent around them, but when she has the opening, she uses it to her full advantage. Not only does she hurt them, but she also fully tortures them until she decides when it's right to stop. And when we get a flashback as to how Satou even got the apartment they got to begin with, the one that she is sharing with Shio, we come to find out the original owner was actually somebody that Satou was around for a while when she was staying at his place, And when Sato asks him what she has to do to pay him back, the original owner actually asked her if she could model for him since he wanted to paint her as he was an artist, something that Sato agreed, and for quite a while she actually spent time with this person in order for him to finish his painting. However, one particular day when Sato decides to bring Shio to his apartment, he notices that Sato is completely different. She's no longer seeming to be down all the time, and in fact she seems to be very happy, most likely because of Shio. Seeing this, and it's revealed that the original owner did not want to see Sato happy and wanted to see her extremely sad all the time and miserable, tries to harm Shio, which of course ends badly as Sato showed no hesitation taking his life. And after this, she decided to take over his apartment, making it her castle and the place that she and Shio are going to be together from now on. But of course, before they could fully have this place, she had to take care of the body. She first decided to butcher the body completely and then incinerate it once it was all done. After this, from now on, she would always have the room where it all happened locked because no matter how many times she tried cleaning it, the blood was always there. So at that point she gave up and just simply made sure that no one ever touched that room or had any intentions in opening that door. But despite Sato having no problems with getting her hands dirty, that wasn't the only method she used to get rid of people who could potentially pose a problem. When she was working in a job, she encountered a coworker named Sumire who considered herself as a plain and awkward girl. But when she met Sato, she became infatuated with her and completely obsessed with her and claimed that she wanted to be just like Sato. Now, when she was saying all this to Sato, Sato didn't really seem to mind if she was simply admired by her. But when Sumire wanted to know where Sato lived so that they could get to know each other more, in an instant, Sato realized that she could be a threat and she had to do something about her before it's too late. Now, she didn't kill her or had any intent to take her life. Instead, she actually kissed her, something that even shocked Sumire to the point that she didn't know how to react in this moment, but showed no intentions of stopping it. After the kiss, Sato tells her that it's okay if she looks up to her, but if there's one thing that she doesn't want her to do is to pry into her private life. Something that Sumire gets the message quickly and no longer dives deep into Sato's life. It just goes to show us that while Sato is deranged and has no problems taking someone's life, she does know when to not do it and just gives the person what they want, even if it's the last thing she wanted to do and even if she considers it to be something truly disgusting. But despite the amount of people she has had to take care of, there was always somebody that she never really could deeply get rid of, and that is Asahi, Shio's brother. Due to his determination of finding his sister, he was doing everything he could to make sure that his sister would be found. It got to the point where she even asked Tayo for his help to get rid of him in exchange for Tayo having a chance to see Shio, something that was very unfortunate to see because in these moments Tayo wanted to completely change his life. He wanted to forget about Shio as even he himself knew that what he was feeling and thinking about Shio was not normal and was extremely unhealthy and very disturbing. However, when Sato gave him a sock of Shio, he completely went back to his very disturbing habit. Now with this moment, many people would consider it as the moment that Sato became irredeemable and somebody that you should never root for. However, what really truly sealed the deal was Sato murdering her friend Shoko. Shoko, just like Sato, wanted to find somebody that she could fall in love with and be somebody that she would never want to leave their side, and is one of the reasons why Sato and her became friends at all, since they had a common goal of finding somebody that would be the perfect person to love. However, as the story progresses, Shoko starts to realize that while she is friends with Sato, she has never really fully known who Sato is. Since Sato keeps her life a secret and completely private, she starts to wonder if there's something going on in Sato's life. And when she meets Asahi, things only start to get more complex for her. Asahi reveals to Shoko what he has been doing and why he's so desperate into finding his little sister, something that really captivates captivate Shoko, and she promises to him that she's also going to help him in finding Shio. And as the two actually interact more and spend more time together, feelings start to develop in Shoko, as at one point she even decides to kiss Asahi, something that completely caught Asahi by surprise, as he could never imagine a person like him would ever have someone kiss them like that. That clearly was a sign of romance developing. But this happiness was short-lived, as one day when Shoko was planning on visiting Sato's house, she notices Sato with Shio, the girl that Asahi has been wanting to look for, and reunite. And when Sato notices that Shoko took a photo of her with Shio, most likely to send it to Asahi, she quickly realizes that her own friend has now become a threat, and she now has to take care of her. And while Shoko tried her best to get out of the situation, even admitting to Sato that even if she has some sort of reason to doing all this, she is still going to be by her side, and she still considers her a friend, and she still loves her for still being there for her, this was sadly not enough. Because while Sato did show some hesitation, and she even admitted that she did not want to kill Shoko, in her head, she made herself believe that this was the only way to get out of the problem, that this was the only way Shoko was going to be silenced, and that is by taking her life. And we see this very painful, disturbing moment where Shoko so desperately tries to get away from Sato while her life is being taken away by Sato. And we see just how far Shoko was willing to go, as in a desperate attempt to get away, she tries to scratch Sato's hands to the point that they actually start to bleed. But this wasn't enough, as Sato was holding on until she could quickly see that Shoko's life was fading away. And when everything was done and Shoko passed away, Sato realized that it was only a matter of time before someone notices, which makes her now want to completely run away from everybody and take Shio with her to start a new life. But this is not going to be easy, as even though Shoko died, she still managed to send the photo to Asahi, thus making Asahi once again confirm that not only is Shio alive, but now somebody is with Shio that he has to take care of, this being Sato. And in these moments, Sato is so desperate to get away from the situation that she even asks her aunt for help, even though Sato has made it very clear that she despises her aunt for what she had to go through at such a young age. And while everything seemed to be going fine, that wasn't exactly the case, as Tayo, who of course was still obsessed with Shio, actually managed to find the address where Sato lived. But upon going to the place, he discovers Sato's aunt, who we already know by now is a deranged person, and she quickly decides to take Tayo for her enjoyment, making Tayo once again relive the nightmare that he had to deal with the other woman that took advantage of him. And then there's Asahi, who in the very climax of the story is able to find where Sato's live, but it was during all this that the actual building that they were living was set on fire by Sato's aunt as a way to get rid of all the evidence of everything that Sato has done in that location. And even though Asahi so desperately wanted to convince Shio to come with him due to her corrupted mind because of Sato, she is convinced that she only belongs to Sato and that Sato is the only person she is truly happy. And while Sato was very happy hearing this, she realized very quickly through the burning building that they were still at that her plan failed. She wasn't going to go away with Shio and start a new life, thus prompting Sato and Shio to be convinced that the only way that they could be together is if they both end their own lives together. And while they decide to jump off the building, there was something during the fall that changed Sato's mind, as most likely she didn't want to see the person that she loved die in a way like this. So very quickly, Sato decides to hold on to Shio in order to break the fall, which as a result ended up her being instantly killed in the matter of seconds upon impact. And even though Shio survived, and we see in the end that she is at the hospital, and Asahi is very glad to see her once again and pays her a visit, sadly he comes to the sad realization that his sister is not the same person that she used to be. She now fully endorses Sato, and when she is told that him and her could start a family, she quickly rejects it, saying that Sato is the only person that she truly loves, and that Sato is the only thing that she truly thinks as family, giving us a grim reminder that while Satou is no longer alive, her presence and her ideas are still going to be carried out through Shio. And that's how Happy Sugar Life ends. Not a very satisfying ending, because at the end of the day, there isn't really truly a happy ending. While yes, the teacher at the very end and Satou's aunt get arrested for their crimes, Tayo is still a mess, and we see just how broken and just how his life has completely changed forever. It's very hard, especially what happened to him between the manager and Satou's aunt. He's not going to really recover from this because he's now fully traumatized, and you just know his life is never going to be the same. Then there's Asahi, who spent every day, every night looking for Shio, putting out flyers, not eating well, sleeping on the streets, and getting beat up by random people just because. Everything he did, everything he put up through did not matter, because the person he wanted to find so desperately is now fully obsessed with somebody that she considers to be the only person she could ever love. A girl who became so twisted with her ideas of love and happiness that she did anything, and I mean anything, to not only get her way, but to also make sure that people didn't stop her love and happiness according to her lives. And that's the reason why the death of Shoko was just so impactful, because it made any moment that you felt bad for Satou completely go down the drain. As even though you do feel bad for what she had to go through at such a young age, and basically what she had to go through living with her aunt, you slowly start to realize that she really just used that as an excuse to justify her actions. As she even said it during an interaction between her and her aunt, that everything that she's been doing and everything that she's been thinking is all because of what her aunt did, to which her aunt counters saying that that's not really her fault, because at the end of the day, Satou is her own person. She knows what's right and wrong, and she knows that her actions have consequences. Despite her aunt being a complete nutjob, she actually managed to show just how hypocritical and ignorant Satou really is. How Satou only used her trauma if it means that she had to justify what she was doing, or to get away from responsibility and convince herself that everything that's happening now is because of everything she has had to go through in her life. And while yes, many people have had very miserable and hard lives, at some point it's how you handle it that counts. Do you try to make your life more better and more positive, or do you sink below and try to make the people around you feel the exact same pain that you went through? While in the beginning we didn't really care what Satou did to the teacher, the manager, or those thugs, because at the end of the day they were still bad people, and you kind of felt relieved that Satou was actually putting these terrible people in their place, Shoko was an innocent person. Shoko truly did care for Satou, and she truly did consider her for a friend, only for her to be killed by that very same friend that she greatly admired and loved, all because Satou believed that Shoko knew too much and had to go away. And then of course, don't get me started with the whole relationship between her and Shio, because it was a very messed up relationship, and whether Satou realized it or not, she was in a way abusing Shio as well, convincing her that she was the only person that she can rely on, telling Shio that everything is going to be fine if she's with her, and that they were meant to be together, because she took full advantage of Shio being completely broken and lonely because of everything she had to go through, not just with her mother but with her father as well. And is why Shio was so desperate to cling to somebody, as she never really had somebody that she truly can rely on, and why when she met Satou she felt that this person was the only person that can bring her happiness and peace in her life. And that was basically Happy Sugar Life, a very depressing anime that really just made you think that some people's interpretation of having a happy, loving life can be very twisted and very dark at the same time. And how some of the scenarios that happen in Happy Sugar Life are not something that are far off reality, and they tend to do happen, unfortunately, in the real world. And that's where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.